All right, section 1.2, we're talking about equation of a line, workplace 30, teaching from the workbook here. So this is what it looks like. Working with equations of direct linear relations. So we've talked about the graphs of linear relations, right? Direct and indirect linear relations. We talked about the graphs. We've looked at the graphs. We know what linear graph looks like, when all the points line up in a row. A direct linear relation is when the line that joins all the points also runs through 0, 0. That's direct. Indirect is when that line does not run through 0, 0, either above or below, right? So now we're going to talk about equations for linear relations. Okay, so what does the math equation look like when we're describing all of the points that would be in one of those straight lines? So we start here. Slope. You guys know about slope, right? Remember, slope, the symbol is m, and it's rise over run, right? That's something you remember. Slope is also the change in y values over the change in x. So the rise would be the change in the y values, so this y value minus this y value is the change. And then this x value minus this x value would be the run, or the delta x. And this triangle here is a Greek letter delta, meaning change in math and science. Okay, delta. That's why, I don't know if you ever wondered why I write the little triangle there, but that means change. Changing. Were you? Okay. So I mean, that's delta, it's delta, and it means change. Now, here's the second part here, if the linear relation is direct, that means that it goes through 0, 0. That means that this point would be 0, this value is 0, and this value is 0. So you see how if those are both 0, the slope is really just y divided by x. So this is really important for direct linear relations. The slope is just the y value divided by the x value. That's kind of handy. So if you know it goes through the 0, 0, that's the equation for the slope. All right, if you know that the slope of the line, if you know the slope of the line, you can choose any x value and calculate the corresponding y value. Well, if you reorder this equation, you get this. Well, this might be a little small. I'll zoom in a little bit for you there. But that is an equation of a direct linear relation. The y value equals the slope times the x value. Okay? And every point matches up with this equation. All right? So let me zoom back out a bit here. Okay. So if that's true, then let's just give that a test, okay? So I'm going to draw this, and I'm going to write, there's a point 0, 0 there. There's a point, let's go 1, 2. All right. And let's go 2, 4. All right, and let's go 3, 6. Okay, so these points should form a straight line. If I were to draw a line through these points, it's a linear relation, and it's direct because it goes through 0, 0. Okay? So we should have some sort of equation where all these points are related with the slope. So what's the slope of this line?
1.
Sorry? 1 over 2. Okay, well, let's take this point and calculate the slope. What's the rise? That's the difference in x values. Y values. What's the rise? Well, we're going from 0 to 2. So the rise is 2. What's the run? Well, that's from this point to this point, and this would be a 1. So the run is 1. So slope is not 1/2 actually, or it's not 1/2, it's actually 2 over 1. So the slope is 2. Okay, see that? So it's 2 over 1. Now look at this. Because it goes through 0, 0, do you see the ratio of this first point? Look at this. It's y, let's go back here, y over x. 2 divided by 1 is the slope. Look at this one. Y over x. That's 4 divided by 2 is 2. That's the slope. 6 divided by 3. That's 2. That's the slope. So this is working out. So the equation of the line would be y equals 2x. That's the equation of this line. You just simply put the slope in there and leave y and x as themselves. So again, with a direct linear relation, direct, that goes through 0, 0, the slope of the line can be pretty easily stated. It's y equals mx. And m is the slope that you would put in there. Okay, so here's an example. What's the slope of this line? There's the equation. Tell me what the slope is. What's the slope? 5. Okay, anybody agree with that or have a different idea? Okay, would it be 5 or 5x? That's a good question.
Y would equal that, so it would be whatever 5x is.
Okay, so remember the formula or the format here. Y equals mx. So this m is the slope, not the x isn't part of the slope. So the slope is 5. You were right the first time. The slope is 5. This is a direct linear relation with a slope of 5. It's a pretty steep slope. That's what the line kind of looks like. So the question says, if we can take a number of x values, we could actually use this equation to find the y values. And so this is all done for you, but if they said pick the numbers or integers from -2 all the way to +2, find the corresponding or the partner y values. So this is what they did, okay? I'll just erase this stuff. Watch what they did. Y equals 5x. If x is -2, they simply put -2 in for x, and they calculated y to be -10. That's why you see it here. So -2 goes with a y value of -10. Okay? -1. So watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put a -1 in there. And what's 5 times -1? -5. So if x is -1, y is -5. You see that? So we can generate points. Wow, look at this. -2, -10, -1, -5. They are starting to match up. 0 goes with 0. Is that true? Let's just check one more. Well, if I put a 0 in for x, y equals 5 times 0. What's 5 times 0? 0. So we got x 0, y 0. So you could start to generate certain coordinates. Yes?
Okay, what about 5 times 2
Over here?
shouldn't equal 2?
Well, 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2, that looks like a typo, yeah. That should be 10. Thank you for that. Very good. Right. Is that in your book there as well?
We don't have that page.
Oh, you don't have that page with you, right? Because you just handed the other side in. Okay, no problem. Well, that's totally true. Yeah, that's totally true. Good catch on that one. That's beauty. Okay, so page 2. You guys have this one? This is the graph like I just showed you. So let's work on build your skills. All right. Okay, so you should have your pencil out. You should have a ruler or some kind of straight edge. You don't have to have a ruler, but if you have your calculator or whatever, you can use that straight edge. And what we're going to do is we're going to, what does this question say? For each of the following equations, so here are the equations, y equals -4x and y equals +4x. Calculate the y values for the values of x that are given in the table. Then draw a graph of both equations on the same coordinate plane. This is the coordinate plane, all of this graph here, empty graph. What similarities and what differences do you notice with respect to slope? Okay, so let's do the table first. All right, so y equals -4x. If you want to write it out on the side of your paper, I think that's a great idea. Y equals -4x. So if I put -2 in for x, what is the y going to be? It's going to look like this. So y equals what? What's -4 times -2?
8.
It's +8, right. So +8 goes there. Awesome. Okay, so let's do the next one. Y equals -4 times -1. So what's the y value when we multiply those two now?
4.
Very good, +4. Awesome, awesome. Okay, next one, y equals -4 times 0. Y is 0. Okay, so this is a direct relation, right? So 0 is going to go with 0. Okay, are you seeing any kind of pattern here? These are each going up by 1. What's happening here?
Down by 4.
They're going down by 4. Oh, isn't that interesting? Look at the slope is -4. Each point's going down by 4. That's interesting. So if I put a 1 in there, -4 times +1 is -4. -4 times +2 is -8. Awesome. Okay, so here's where you want to get your straight edge out. You want to get your ruler out, and you want to draw a straight line. Come now. As best you can, a straight line. Okay. Actually, it's kind of tough to place a line like this one, but anyways, so you want to draw a straight line, and then do another line. Make a coordinate plane there. Sorry, make an axis, XY axis. It's like really difficult to get that perfect. Okay. See if I can move it over a little bit. Ooh. Oops. Not really. Okay, that's as good as I can get. All right, so let's do the first one in blue here. So look at this. Let's go -1, -2 is right here. And then we got to go up 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, barely. Okay, so this is -2, 8. Does everyone see that? And you write the coordinates there. X is always first, comma, Y, and then put brackets around them. That's how you write the coordinates there for that point. The next one is going to be -1, so you go in the negative, so you go 1 to the left in the X direction, side to side. Then you go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you put a point there. So that's -1, 4. That's that point. 0, 0, that's an easy one. 0, 0. And then we go 1, -4. 2, 3, 4. And then 2, -8. Going to be right about there. All right, so in blue, see if I can do this. We'll make a line. Oh yeah. Oh, that was looking really good until I just lifted my pen up. Sweet. Okay, there's that line. So notice we have a negative slope, -4, and actually 4 is pretty steep. That's a pretty steep slope compared to like just a 1. A -1 would be, you know, kind of your average slope there, and then as the number gets bigger, it gets steeper. And if it's in a negative direction, it goes down from left to right. Okay, so let's do this one in red. Let's see if we can figure out how to do this pretty quick. So if x is -2, what's 4 times -2? Good, -8. What's -1 times 4? That's -4. 0 times 4 is 0. 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 4 is
8.
Awesome. You guys are awesome. So in red, let's do this. So -2 is actually going to be -8 down here. -1 is going to be -4. And so on. So go ahead and finish the graph on your paper there. Okay, so if you have your second line drawn there as well, notice that the lines are quite similar, but they're opposite, aren't they? One is really steep and goes down, so left to right. The blue one goes down like this, and then the other one, the red one, is really steep, it goes up. And they are kind of like a mirror image of each other. If my lines were perfect here, then they would be a perfect mirror image of each other. They would cross each other like a perfect X there. Okay, so again, that's what the slope does, and that's the equation of the line that builds these lines. You guys got it? Any questions about that?
So the ones going from like this side is positive.
Yeah, if you think about it, okay, positive slope from left to right, just like we read a sentence. If it goes up from left to the right, it's positive slope. It's going up. And then from left to right, if it goes down, it's negative. Yeah, okay? Good question. Any other questions? All right. Let's keep a rolling here. Let's keep a rolling. So what happens if we're given a question and we're asked to write an equation for that? Instead of given the equation, find the points. Let's say we can generate some points and we have to find an equation for that. It's actually not that tough. If it's a direct relation, all you need is the slope. You need to find the slope. So remember, the slope is like the rate of change of the quantities. So if it's, 12.75 per hour, that's a rate of change. It's money and time, right? So example 2, Katrina earns $12.75 per hour. Make a table of values showing Katrina's earnings for 0 to 5 hours. So you don't have to do this. We'll just look at the solutions here. So 0 hours, she makes nothing. She works nothing, she makes nothing. But if she works 1 hour, she makes $12.75. 2 hours, it's 2 times $12.75. 3 hours is 3 times $12.75 right here. 4 times $12.75, 5 times $12.75. Okay, so we can draw this equation. We know it's a direct relationship, and so I can make an equation because I know that this is the equation for a direct relationship. So the slope we know is 12.75. So look at this. This is the equation for this line. Now the equation for a line is actually really, really handy because you can find out exactly how much money you'll make and you can plug in any number of hours that you want. So that's what this question says. How can we use the equation to find out how much Katrina will earn in 5.5 hours? Well, guess what? The hours is X, right? So Y is the amount of money earned. So let's just put in 5.5 in for X. Just like that. That makes sense, doesn't it? So it works 5.5 hours at $12.75 per hour. You multiply the two together. And that one, can't do that one in my head, so I'll get out my calculator for that one. So it's going to be $12.75 times 5.5. $70.13. We'll round it to the nearest cent, and there you go. $70.13 for 5.5 hours. Any questions about that?
So to find, for these type of questions, is it going to give us our slope?
Well, it might not give you the slope, but it'll give you a question where you can figure out the slope.
Okay, so it's going to give us something okay.
In this question, it gives you this, which you know is the rate of change or the slope. So for this type of example. Okay? All right, I'll help you get started with this one. Let me see what we have here. This question, 2, 3. I did want to I wanted to go through another example for the end of the day. So I want to go through example 3 as well, and then we'll finish these ones. So we'll try and get to question number, what was that? We're going to try and get to the end of question number 6 before we're done today. Okay, so let's do build your skill question number 2. I'll get you started on this, okay? So 1 inch is equal to 2.5 centimeters. That's what's given. Now we can find the slope, but let's just think about where we should start. Draw a graph that shows the relationship. That's not much to draw a graph from, is it? So what you might want to do is generate some points. So what are the relationship here? And what screams out to me is this, is inches and centimeters. Let's make a table of values. So 0 inches is equal to 0 centimeters. You always want to check to make sure that makes sense, because now you know it's a direct relationship. Okay, perfect. Every inch will be 2.54 centimeters. So you can just keep going like this. Or what's that going to be? 5.08. So you just add 2.54 every time you go. Right? 7.62. And so on. So let's make one more point here. 2.44. So 9.16. Okay, please check my mental math there. Make sure that's correct. And then we want to graph it. So you'll use a ruler, but I'll make an axis here. We can go right on the far left if we want, because we won't want to. We don't need to deal with any negative numbers. Oh, it's not 916? 2 point. Sorry? Oh, 2, yeah, sorry. 10.16? Yeah, sorry, not 9. Yeah, 10. Thank you. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. 10.16. So 0, 0. Awesome. 1. Now, again, we're only going to go to 4 here, so I could probably take 2 squares for all this, right? Right? And you can even keep going if you want. And centimeters, we need to go up to at least 10. So maybe more. So there's 15. So why don't we just do 1 square is 1 inch. So this will be, inches. This is going to be centimeters on the side. Okay. And then we can go ahead, why don't you take a couple minutes there, plot those points and draw a line connecting them. Okay, so your graph should look something like that. You can feel free to fill in the rest of your values here. That'd be great. Shouldn't take you long. Awesome. And this is this would be centimeters versus inches. You can always just kind of make a title like that, and as long as you label which is which, you're good. Okay. Okay. All right. So we could pretty easily find the slope, couldn't we? You could take this point and divide it by this, this value divided by this value, because this is 0 and 0. So remember, we could take any y value and divide it by the x value, right? Or you could take 2.54 divided by 1. What's that? So the slope is 2.54. Okay? So we go up 2.54 over 1, up 2.54 over 1, and so on. So the equation for this line, is that the next question here? Let's see, B. The slope of the graph, well, we said that's 2.54. The equation, y equals m times x. So our actual equation, we want to put that slope right in there. And leave x and y just as they are. Okay. So I'm going to let you take a minute here, and I want you to do D. Use the equation to calculate how many centimeters are equal to 18 inches. So remember, which one is 18 and which one is centimeters. Fill in the value at the appropriate spot and solve for the other one. Go ahead. All right, so as you finish this question, right on. X is inches. Remember, X is inches. Go back to your graph even. The X down here is inches. So if you're given 18 inches, put 18 in where the X is in the equation, and then solve for Y. So 2.54 times 18. Okay? Okay. So I want to go through example 3. I know there's some more questions that build your skills. I'm going to go through one more thing with you here today for this lesson. Then I'm going to let you work on practice questions in your own, okay? So if you could just turn to page, what is this, page 37 with me. And let's take a look at example 3 and see what this type is. Damien works at a paint supply store. Most customers buy paint cans in large quantities, so Damien has made the following table as a quick reference for the cost of different quantities of cans of a particular brand of paint. So here we have number of cans on this side and the cost on this side. So 2 cans is $49. 4 cans is $98, and so on. 8 is this much, 14 this much. If the data were drawn on a graph, what would be the slope? Okay, now we aren't given that 0 cans is $0. Can we assume that?
Yeah.
Probably, if it's just cans, right? But how do we find the slope if we're not given 0, 0? Remember, this is slope, right? y2 minus, we did this, we've been doing this for days, so hopefully you remember this. And what that means is we take any y value and we subtract another y value. So let's say 196 minus 49 is on top. See the difference in y values. Then we go over and take the x values of the same points and we subtract those. And you can take any, you can take any 2 points and compare them. And that's how we find the slope. So, what do we get there? Well, 196 minus 49 divided by, let's put brackets around this, 8 minus 2. I'm trying to be smart and show you how to do it in one step, and I think I'm going to have to use brackets on these guys as well. So you could do this in 2 steps, of course, but okay, so let's see, hit enter, and we get 24.5. 24.5. Now, that's going to be, what is that number going to be? What does that represent there?
That's the slope.
It's the slope, yeah, but what does the slope represent?
Represents the cost of the certain amount of candy line.
A cost, okay, you're close, the cost of a certain amount of cans. How many cans? It's the cost for
Different quantities.
how many different quantities?
Choose.
Okay, let's look at this. 2 cans cost $49. What does 1 can cost?
24.
That's what the slope means. Yeah, so the slope, right? $24.50 per can. That's what the slope is. $24.50 per can. So the slope is 24.5. Write an equation that represents the relationship between the total cost and the number of paint cans purchased. So yes, we can assume that this is 0, 0, because 1 is 24.5, which is, yeah, half of this, so it makes sense. It's going to run into 0, 0. So y equals what? What's the equation? What's the equation? How do I finish that? Nope, nope, nope. Wait, let somebody else answer. You're answering every question. What's the answer? Y equals what? It's a direct relationship. So what is the equation given what we have in A there?
Y equals cost.
Y equals cost. Okay, what am I writing on this side? So guys, remember this? Remember this right here? This is the whole point of the lesson, right? Y equals mx. So I have m is 24.5. What's the equation for finding cost of cans for this question? Y equals mx. More. Tell me more. It's not the final answer.
Equals 24.5.
Thank you. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. 24.5x. Good job. So you see, if you're writing an equation for a certain situation, you have to fill in some values. The only values we can fill in is the slope here. Okay. All right. So how many paint cans can be purchased for $245? So remember, paint cans is X. Paint cans is on the left side here. So I actually have 245 is actually what? It's the cost. It's Y. So this is what you do. 245 goes in for Y. So I have $245 equals 24.5 times X. And now you have to solve for X. So what is X? 24.5 times what gives you 245? Or how do you get rid of this? How do you get X all by itself? Because this is what we want. Right? Who remembers that? Someone else answer now. This side of the room. Divide. Thank you. Divide what? Divide by?
245.
Divide by 245?
24.5.
24.5. Thank you. So that's perfect. Divide by 24.5. That gets rid of that. And then this right here is going to be whatever your X value. Very good. So 245 divided by 24.5. 5. That is 10. So x equals 10, which means that if you had 10 cans, it would fit in here between 8 and 14, the cost would be $2.45, which actually fits in there really nicely, doesn't it? It makes sense, doesn't it? Okay? Working with the equation, very, very important. Okay? This is a simple one too. Y equals mx. M is your slope. Okie dokie. All right, so there's the detailed solution in there if you want to do that. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is take the rest of the class, and for section 1.2, I want you to do questions 1 to 6. Okay, that's all the Build Your Skills questions that are accompanied with the things that you learned today. So go back to number 1 or whatever and start working towards the end of number 6, okay? Any questions?